Hey, I'm Mike Thompson. I'm here today to talk about WebSphere Automation version 1.2. I'm going to do an introduction and a little bit of a demo. WebSphere Automation is all about helping automate operations to quickly unlock value with increased security, resiliency, and performance. So earlier this year, we introduced two new offerings as part of the WebSphere family. WebSphere Hybrid Edition, which is where you can find all of your runtimes, both traditional WebSphere as well as Liberty, running on IBM Semaru Java, as well as the application modernization tools. In addition to WebSphere Hybrid Edition, we brought out WebSphere Automation. WebSphere Automation is focused on helping automate operations for those existing and new environments, allowing you to manage. So WebSphere Automation is AI infused automation for WebSphere, helping free up the operations teams from the routine care and feeding that we know goes along with maintaining especially large WebSphere environments. IBM Automation was designed through customer engagement. We interviewed over 50 different customers from all different segments, sizes, and industries. And what we found was a common theme emerged. WebSphere customers need help securing, healing, and optimizing their existing and future environments. With WebSphere Automation, we allow you to connect to those existing environments, whether they are from WebSphere Hybrid Edition or really any edition of WebSphere. This allows you to automate those day-to-day actions such as tracking CVEs, tracking problem determination information, to give your teams back time so that they can focus on the strategic priorities, most often adopting a hybrid cloud model or performing application modernization. With WebSphere Automation, we have been laser focused on meeting you where you are. We know that modernization, while strategically and critically important, can take a long time to realize the benefits. With WebSphere Automation, we've been focused on automating your existing operations without requiring changes to your existing environment so that you can realize quick ROI through steps that are focused on operations, thus giving you that time back and saving your time as well as effort. We deliver three primary use cases. The initial use case is focused around CVE detection. Through those customer conversations, this was single handedly the most important aspect that WebSphere customers are experiencing pain around today. The constant drumbeat of security vulnerabilities from all sorts of aspects of technology, whether that is core JDK, open source projects, or just a vulnerability in WebSphere itself, is very difficult to manage and quite often can be overwhelming. With WebSphere Automation from a single consolidated dashboard, you can see all of your unresolved security vulnerabilities in your traditional WebSphere, Liberty, and IBM JDKs. What this means is you no longer need to manually evaluate each CVE against all of your servers, thus saving you time and effort. And you can receive email-based notifications that tell you exactly what elements in your environment are affected by a new security bulletin published by IBM, or when a new server that has a vulnerability is registered. These notifications come in the form of email so they can integrate with your existing workflows. And you can do this registration without needing to install additional APARs or iFixes because we use technology that's been in WebSphere, traditional and Liberty, for at least 2 years. We were also surprised to learn through customer conversation that many customers track their WebSphere inventories manually. Whether using a spreadsheet or a manually updated database, this inventory tracking can be a real burden on teams, especially in environments where these things change dynamically, right? iFixes are applied, patches are updated, entire versions are updated on quarterly or potentially more frequently bases. Through WebSphere Automation, we provide a single consolidated dashboard to track all of the WebSphere servers, and we allow you to export this information into a CSV spreadsheet, or you can access it through the REST APIs that we provide. Again, all of this information is available without needing to perform additional installations or configuration changes with WebSphere Automation. The same connectivity that lets you track CVEs gives you this automated inventory tracking. And it's very easy to integrate this kind of configuration into your existing build pipelines. New in version 1.2, which came out in November of 2021, is automated memory leak detection and analysis. Enabled with integration with Instana APM, we are now able to detect memory leaks before they crash the system. What this means is normally a memory leak is only detected when either the system ultimately crashes due to an out of memory error or when the application begins to suffer degraded performance. And that can often be reported by the line of business or your application users. With this Instana integration, we're able to detect memory leaks before they cause these adverse effects and proactively gather the problem determination information that we need to understand what the root cause is. Once WebSphere Automation gathers that problem determination information, it brings it back to WebSphere Automation for automated analysis, where we produce a report that can be exported and shared with the application development team or app vendor to speed time to corrective action. What this means is you no longer need to be reactive or manually analyze memory leaks. This gives the operations team a significant reduction in burden. Not only do they need to be manually observing and reacting to notifications that come from your APM solution, they also do not need to be skilled or even remember how to do these memory leak analyses because these use specialized tools which are included and used by WebSphere Automation. In addition to this automated analysis, just like with the CVE detection, we will also send an automated email notification to let you know when a memory leak is detected. The high level architecture of WebSphere Automation is pretty simple. You use your traditional and Liberty servers, you connect into WebSphere Automation, and it will then track and keep all of the knowledge needed to do the CVE awareness, do the memory leak analysis, and it can provide that information to you through the UI, through the email notifications, or those REST APIs that I described. However, let's show and not tell. And I'm going to switch over to a demo and I'm going to show you these features with WebSphere Automation now. All right, so what we're looking at here is the version 1.2 of WebSphere Automation. WebSphere Automation has both of those use cases that I described. It has the CVE detection, it has the memory leak analysis, and the vulnerability, or I should say, the inventory tracking. So what we see here is the security view. I can see for the purposes of this demo, I only have two servers registered. I have a traditional WAS server at version 905, and I have a Liberty server at 21006, which was approximately June this year. Both of these runtimes have unresolved security issues, and I can see that very prominently in the display. I can click into an individual link. It will pull up the security bulletin for me so that I can read and understand this issue more deeply. But WebSphere Automation makes it very easy to know that I have these vulnerabilities. In fact, when we've done various proof of concepts with customers, they've been surprised to learn what vulnerabilities they didn't even know they had present in their environment. To demonstrate this, I'm going to quickly show what patching a server looks like for Liberty. I will point out that a more comprehensive demo for all of this functionality will be delivered in a subsequent Tech TV session, but I wanted to give everybody a sense of the capabilities of what WebSphere Automation is capable of doing. So in this case, I'm going to run a very simple script. What it's going to do is it's going to install an iFix for the Liberty runtime. It will simply stop Liberty, it will apply the iFix, and then it will restart the server. By doing that, the Liberty server here, which is indicated with a low risk level because that's the CVSS score for that particular vulnerability, is going to flip from low to none. And you can see it has just done that. As part of the change, we've also tracked that a new iFix has been applied. So you can see that I applied PH38929. That resolved the CVE in question. If we take a look at the security bulletin for traditional WebSphere, you can see that its base score is 8.2. That's consistent with the high vulnerability rating that we see in WebSphere Automation, and that we can apply iFix PH34048. So I'm going to do that now, and because we know that installing things on traditional WebSphere can be a little bit slower than traditional, I'm going to show you a couple other things while that runs. So if we look into the specific details about a given server, we can drill in and see that there is information that we make available immediately. No, simply put, there's the identifying information that we have. So the host name, the server name, in the case of traditional WebSphere, the cell and node names, the installation directory, etc. We also track the list of applied iFixes and unresolved CVEs in this view. I'll show you how the memory leak investigations work next, but we also show what memory leak investigations have been applied or run against this server. So from this view, you can see very quickly at a glance what are the kinds of things that are going on with this particular server. Do I have memory leaks? Do I have unresolved CVEs? And of course, all of that is rolled up into this top level view. Now, let's check on the patch progress here. So we've just stopped the server. I've kicked off the iFix installation. That will take a moment, and ultimately, this server will flip from a high risk level to a low risk level because this unresolved CVE will be addressed through the application of the iFix. Uh, we'll give it a moment for that to finish. I'll show a couple other things while we wait. The email-based notifications available in WebSphere Automation are provided through configuration of an email server. So if you have a corporate email server, like here we have an SMTP server configuration, you can simply connect to that. You can authenticate. You can use the security credentials and the SSL certificate needed to establish a secure connection to your mail server. And then you can simply add a list of email addresses, whether individual email addresses or potentially functional IDs, that will be notified as these things change in the environment. So if we go back and check on the patch status, the server is restarting. This should post here in a moment, and we'll see that the server 1 security status will have changed from high to none. Now, the way WebSphere Automation actually works under the covers is as these servers change their information about themselves, which in the case of traditional WebSphere is only done across a server restart, or in the case of Liberty, it could be a server restart, like we did where we applied the patch, or potentially as the configuration changes with the dynamic nature of Liberty, when those critical aspects of the runtime change, the server names, applied iFixes, the software levels, in the case of Liberty, its configuration, that is what gets reported to WebSphere Automation. That's done automatically by the server when those events occur. And you can see now that the server 1 has started, we have the updated view in WebSphere Automation. There's no more unresolved CVEs against the server. The number of applied iFixes has increased, and my security status is now marked as none. So with WebSphere Automation and the security CVE tracking, we automatically compare the known information that IBM publishes on IBM.com via its security bulletins with the information that we know about your WebSphere environment. In the case of this version of WebSphere Automation, we have this installed locally, so it is running on-prem in my environment. If you choose to, you can install WebSphere Automation in a public cloud or wherever you like. Today, WebSphere Automation is not available as a hosted SaaS solution, but if that's something that you would be interested in, at the end of the material, I will have a link to the customer advisory board, and I strongly encourage everyone to participate and give us feedback. Now, what I also have done here is I've exported this information as a CSV, and I'm opening that now. You can see that the data that we were tracking, the vulnerabilities, the APARs, those things that have been installed, the various software levels, this is now all exported as a file that I can use with my CISO office, my compliance team. WebSphere Automation makes it very easy to take the information that you see on the screen and export that into a useful format that you can use for your purposes. So that really represents the set of capabilities that we have with WebSphere security CVE detection. Let's also take a look at the new health capability added in version 1.2. So in this particular case, I'm going to use a different simple script. I'm going to invoke a known bad application running on my Liberty server. In this case, we actually wrote a little application that's going to shove objects into the heap and never release them, thus simulating a memory leak. So if I drive that application endpoint, I'm going to increase the heap usage. What's happening behind the scenes is Instana APM has been configured to observe both the traditional as well as Liberty server. When Instana APM notices this trend in memory growth, the fact that these objects are not being released, it will notify WebSphere Automation automatically that these things are happening and that WebSphere Automation needs to take an action. You can see that in the background, this investigating status has opened. This investigating status is directly triggered by your APM solution so that it tells WebSphere Automation there's something wrong in your WebSphere environment. There's a sick server. WebSphere Automation, please go take a look and understand it more deeply. As you can see through this investigation detail, the history of activity here is that the memory leak was detected. This was an alert triggered by Instana. The server was then identified, and we do that by connecting to the actual virtual machine where the server's running, and we then trigger a heap dump collection. Because this can take some time, let me show you what a completed one looks like. So exactly the same set of activities here. The memory leak was detected, the server was identified, and the heap dump collection was started. It took about 50 seconds. And what we make available through WebSphere Automation is the heap dump download. So within WebSphere Automation, we are capturing and tracking all of this diagnostic information, making it available for you to share with your application developers. And then the end result is we perform an analysis on that heap dump. That analysis is indicating in this particular case the memory leak, and it generates a downloadable zip file that gives all of those results. So the analysis summary here, based on the adding of those objects to the heap, is that 92% of the live heap is being used by the servlet wrapper. This makes sense because we're driving this memory leak through a servlet. And if we look a little closer, we can see that this is an accumulation of objects inside of a vector referenced by the ML vector param servlet, which is actually the bad application that we wrote specifically for this demo. So you can see now that WebSphere Automation is automatically detecting when the memory leak occurs, and that's being initiated by Instana APM. We automatically gather the problem diagnostic information and we bring that back to WebSphere Automation where we do the automated analysis. And if we take a look at the problem that I just created, you can see the timestamp was today, just a few moments ago. We get exactly the same results. We get the identified server, we get the heap dump collected, and we get the analysis result. And all of these files can be downloaded. They can then be shared with your application owner so that they can speed time to corrective action, because we've made it very easy to pinpoint the likely culprit of these memory leaks. And with that, that concludes the demo. I want to switch back to the slides now, and we're going to talk a little bit about how you can configure WebSphere automation, how all of this works, and kind of where we're going as next steps. All right, so the way that we actually register these WebSphere servers to connect to WebSphere automation is actually quite simple. There's a little bit of configuration. It's essentially 3 lines where we specify to WAS that we need a usage metering URL, an API key so that we can connect and authenticate to WebSphere automation and provide this information, and the SSL trust so that we can establish a TLS connection. Whether you're using Liberty, which would be a server XML based configuration model, or traditional WebSphere, where you're using a usage metering properties file, both of this information is exactly the same. So once you have this information extracted from WebSphere automation as part of the installation process, you can simply replicate that information across your entire WebSphere environment, and all of those WebSphere servers that are configured will connect to WebSphere automation. They'll publish their identifying information about themselves, and you can begin to track the unresolved CVEs and your inventory as part of your use of WebSphere automation. The way WebSphere automation is installed is from within an OpenShift cluster. We are installed as part of the IBM operator catalog. So the IBM WebSphere automation operator will handle all of the installation and provisioning needed for WebSphere automation to be stood up in that cluster. And you can control how much of WebSphere automation you want to use. If you're interested in the secure aspects only, you can create and provision WebSphere automation such that those resources and those capabilities are provided. If you're interested in the health integration as well, you can also create that, and WebSphere automation will provision all of the necessary components so that those things are available. We do support installation in an air gap environment. We also support running in an air gap environment. And we have an upcoming Tech TV session where we will demonstrate exactly how to do that. So let's take a look ahead and see where are we going in terms of the set of capabilities that WebSphere automation is working on. So our anticipated delivery roadmap for WebSphere automation includes capabilities around vulnerability remediation. Through those customer conversations, which have shaped the WebSphere delivery roadmap, we've been very pleased with the amount of engagements that we've had from customers. We regularly speak to 50 different customers. We speak to a handful of very active business partners. And through that feedback, it was very clear that WebSphere automation needs to begin to tackle next this patch deployment capability. Because while it's very helpful to understand what are my unresolved security vulnerabilities, the obvious next step is taking corrective action. In addition to the security dimensions of WebSphere automation, we're also looking at expanding the health dimensions that we described. Today, we have the automated memory leak detection and analysis. We're looking to expand that to include other integrations beyond Instana APM, where we have in our feature backlog integration with Dynatrace, integration with Prometheus. We have other integrations being tracked as well. So if there's something out there that you want to see, please join the customer advisory board, and I'll flash up a slide with details on how to do that. We're also expanding the number of health conditions that we look at. So today we understand and track memory leaks. Some of the top requested areas to explore are thread contention, deadlocks, and resource pool exhaustion. Helping resolve those kinds of issues, understanding those kinds of problems will be immensely valuable to WebSphere customers. And then an area where we have not delivered yet, but we're anticipating for later next year, is to begin delivering the automated tuning advice as part of the optimization theme for WebSphere automation. We know that through working with a research team that it is possible for us to help fine tune the existing WebSphere configuration so that you can realize more value out of your WebSphere investment. We know from practice and with our field teams that if you spend the time to optimize and tune WebSphere, you can realize up to 50% or better performance gains. By working on that and by delivering that, you get those added value of WebSphere, but you also have to spend a fair amount of time, both human time and machine time, to do that. With WebSphere Automation as part of our anticipated delivery roadmap, we'll deliver automated tuning advice based on that research project that I mentioned. So all of those things are forward looking and future. If you want to help shape our delivery roadmap, please join the customer advisory board and give us feedback. Currently in development are two aspects around our secure theme. The first is actually our top requested RFE. As part of the initial feedback that we got from our customer base, that the CVE detection was very, very valuable, but what it lacked was the knowledge of when a patch was detected and when a patch was applied. Because most of our very large customers have these corporate requirements that require them to be patched within 30, 60, 90 days, it would be very, very valuable to have a timeline of when the CVE was detected and when the patch was ultimately applied. And we are currently working on that particular capability. We are also working on the initial capabilities to do automated patch rollout. This will include the ability to pre-download patches directly from Fix Central, staging that in your environment. And our initial integration for patch deployment will be Ansible scripts, other integrations potentially to follow based on customer feedback. So, how do you give us feedback? How do you get engaged in this conversation? Number one way is to join the customer advisory board. This is a free program that we run. It is managed by Claudia by Siegel, whose email is on the slide. You can join through the middleware user group community, and we hold weekly meetings on Thursday and Friday mornings where you can come and learn more about various goings on in the WebSphere portfolio and related portfolios as well. In fact, just recently, we had sessions on Turbonomic and Instana, as well as updates for the WebSphere Automation program, as well as Liberty and Transformation Advisor. So pretty much everything that we do in the WebSphere portfolio, you can come and learn and get a sneak early preview from the customer advisory board. I highly recommend it. It has been an absolutely valuable program for both us as well as the customers who have participated. So before we go to questions, I want to close with just sort of the big ticket items for WebSphere Automation. WebSphere Automation is all about helping you unlock time and value by automating your operations so that you don't need to spend time there. We have some upcoming Tech TV sessions. December 8th, we have an end to end demo for all the capabilities that I just walked through. What I showed today was sort of at the top level surface, a taste of what is available. This dedicated demo session will deep dive all of these different capabilities and show you exactly how all of these things work. Coming up in January, we also have two sessions around installation for WebSphere Automation. The January 12th session will talk about how you can install and upgrade WebSphere Automation using the network connected, which is our default recommended installation mode. You can also check out in January 26th the air gap installation. So installation for WebSphere Automation in an air gap environment is fully supported. It does require some additional steps above and beyond what we provide in a network-based install. So come check out that session to get an idea of what installing WebSphere Automation in an air gap environment looks like. Then last but not least, we have some trial options for WebSphere Automation available from our product page. Today, you can access a 60-day downloadable trial where you can install WebSphere Automation in your own environment. That has been very useful for customers that are looking to do proof of concept or proof of technologies. We also have a hosted trial coming soon that will be available from the product page where you'll be able to try WebSphere Automation out sort of hassle-free, running inside the IBM cloud using a pre-provisioned environment where you can test and play with WebSphere Automation to your heart's content. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing and we're going to go to the chat and see if there are any questions. All right. So it doesn't look like we have currently any questions in the chat. I want to thank everybody today for all of the time and the attention that you gave here. We're really excited about Webster Automation. The collaboration that we have had with our customers has been absolutely valuable. Please join the customer advisory board. Please reach out to us. The way we can deliver the most successful and most useful Webster Automation is through engaging and partnering with you. And with that, I will wrap up for today. Thank you so much for the time.